Okay, let me guess. You just left a PetSmart or a Petco and you saw all of those adorable little fish in the cups and you thought to yourself,
that would be so neat to put in that vase John got me last year for Valentine's Day. I mean, it's not like he's gonna give me more flowers to put in it.
all right, just wait a minute. Let's talk about this first. Here are 10 things you should know about betta fish. Okay, let's get this out of the way first. I've been keeping fish since I was 19 years old, and in all that time, I have always called these fish bettas. I know that there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna be upset with Lisa and I for calling them bettas and not bettas. I'm sorry. I've got a very simple little brain, and I just can't reprogram it to say betta. Believe me, I've tried. I have no idea what Lisa's excuse is. If you're considering buying a betta, the first thing that you need to do is get this idea out of your head that these fish are going to be happy in a small cup or a vase. Yes, these fish are very small, they're very easy to keep, and yes, they can breathe air if they need to. More on that later. But these are still living things that need to be given the best life possible. A Chihuahua will fit very nicely in a 75-gallon aquarium, but does that mean that it's going to live a nice, happy lifestyle? No. Why? Because a Chihuahua wants to run around and explore and poop in the dining room. Fish are no different. They want to swim around and exercise and explore. They're not going to be able to do that if you put them in a small vase or an old rum bottle. There are tons of nano aquariums out there today that are perfect for bettas. A lot of these nano tanks have built-in filtration, built-in lighting. It makes them very easy to maintain. And they look really cool too. Look around, they're everywhere. They're the most popular thing going right now. Just because an animal will survive in something doesn't mean that they're gonna live a long, happy, and healthy life. Do the right thing, put a betta in an aquarium, not a vase or a cup.
The recommended temperatures for keeping your betta fish is between 78 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. If the temperature gets a little lower, your fish's metabolism will start to slow down. But the interesting thing is, if it goes higher than 80, the fish will still be okay because betta fish can utilize their labyrinth organ, which allows them to breathe air in oxygen depleted situations. So if temperature rises, there is going to be a lower oxygen level in the water and they can compensate. That being said, it's not comfortable to keep them too hot, so stick with the 78 to 80 degrees and you'll be just fine.
How am I supposed to talk about breeding in less than a minute? So the first thing you're gonna need is a breeding pair. This can be tricky if you're just gonna buy them from a pet store. You might as well just buy them from a breeder because it's going to make your life easier in the long run. We've already talked about how bettas don't do well in tanks together because all they want to do is fight. How are you supposed to breed them if you can't put them in a tank together? Well, this is where one of those breeder boxes or a tank divider will come in pretty handy. The breeder box or the tank divider actually comes in very handy because they'll still be able to go through that courting process without killing each other. Once they're done flirting with each other, they can be put into a breeding tank together, where the male will build a bubble nest on the surface of the water. They'll go through a pretty fascinating breeding process where the female will drop her eggs. The male will pick them up and put them in the bubble nest, and that's where they'll stay until they hatch. Once the breeding is done, you'll want to remove the female, but you'll leave the male in the tank so that he can protect the eggs. Of course, there's so much more to breeding bettas, and we're not able to cover it all without this video being an hour long. If you're interested in more information about breeding bettas, click the eye up in the corner, which will take you to a great playlist from Creative Pet Keeping. She's got 36 videos on breeding bettas. Okay, so I just want to be honest here, and I want to give you my opinion about breeding bettas. I am not a fan of breeding bettas. I feel like there are so many people that may breed them for the wrong intentions, and I don't like that. I feel like bettas are so readily available. You can go to a Petco, you can go to your fish store, you can go to Walmart, and you can find bettas everywhere. They're in little cups and they're just suffering, and I hate that. And I feel like unless you're in a fish club or you have hundreds of friends that are going to take these betta, or you have a lot of tanks yourself and you can house them, I don't feel like it's right. I'd like to give you an example. If you have 2 cats and you decided you wanted to have kittens, would you breed these cats just so that you could have kittens? Or would you go to a shelter and adopt a kitten? To me, that would be the right thing to do. Now, not everybody agrees with my opinion, and I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this. And I definitely do not mean any disrespect to people that do breed bettas. I just want people to be aware. It's more than just a little fish. It's a life. So if you're going to breed betta, please be prepared to home them.
Do you have a great idea for a topic for a 10 Things episode in the future? Well, if you do, put it down in the comment section below, and if we use your topic, we'll give you credit in the video.
To show you the different types of betta fish that there are out there, we decided to turn to JapaneseFightingFish.org, and we put together a slideshow for you. So here goes. JapaneseFightingFish.org is a wonderful site. So if you want to learn more about your betta fish, or if you're thinking about getting a betta fish, then you should go check them out. They're a great site.
Bettas aren't all that picky about what you put in the tank with them, but the first thing that I want to say about decorations is think about the size of the tank that you're putting the decorations in. If you have a 3-gallon aquarium and you put a giant pirate ship in there, you're not leaving very much room in the tank for the fish to swim around. I'm not preaching to you here, I'm just saying. Bettas do well with pretty much anything you want to put in the tank with them, from live plants to fake plants to rocks and statues. These are fragile little fish though, so try to stay away from decorations that have a lot of sharp edges and stuff like that on them. You don't want to get their gorgeous fins all sliced up. As far as substrate goes, there really are no rules when it comes to bettas. I've seen people use everything from bare bottom tanks to sand, brightly colored gravel, or even those fake rubies and crystals and stuff if you're into that.
Unfortunately, there are people out there that look at bettas as decorations. And if they end up dying, they just say, they don't live that long anyway. And you know what? That's not true. A well cared for betta can live anywhere from 2 to 5 years, and I've heard of some living even longer if they're taken good care of. If your betta decoration dies, it's not because they have a short lifespan, it's because you didn't do what you were supposed to do. You did not do your job. There's a misconception out there that bettas like dirty water because they originate from mud puddles. I'm telling you, whoever started that is just stupid. A betta aquarium should be taken care of just like any other aquarium should. You need to do your water changes and keep up with filter maintenance. Do you want to live in a dirty house? Do you want to live in a funky, dirty, smoky closet? No. So why does your betta want to live in a mud puddle or a dirty tank? Do your job and let your betta live to its fullest potential. Feeding your betta is the easiest thing in the world. You have so many choices. Every fish brand out there has a betta formula. Bettas are carnivores, which means they like food high in protein, and there are several out there that you can choose from. The first would be live foods. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because there are a lot of other options out there, and unless you're breeding bettas, then you really don't have to feed live foods. Some of the more common live foods would be things like vinegar eels and baby brine shrimp. These are live foods that you can culture yourself, and they're super nutritious for your fish. But again, unless you're looking into breeding bettas, you probably don't want to mess with it. I would say the easiest way to give your betta everything that they need is to just feed them a pellet or frozen foods. Frozen foods like bloodworms and brine shrimp are awesome for your betta, and they'll definitely tear it up. But if you only have one betta and one cube, you're probably going to waste a lot of that food. Right now, between John and I, we have 7 bettas in 7 different tanks. So we just thaw out 1 cube and it feeds all 7 bettas. And then we get to pellets. Pellets are by far the easiest way to feed your fish without wasting a bunch of food. And the great thing about pellets is there's everything that you need in a pellet for your betta. My bettas absolutely love fluval bug bites. I feed them 4 or 5 pellets a day and they go crazy over it. I'm not saying that because I think it's the best food out there for your fish. It's just what works for me, and my fish love it.
Here's the thing, doing a segment on fish that are compatible with bettas can be a bit controversial. But then again, I guess doing any fish tank mate videos can ruffle some feathers out there. You're always gonna have people that are gonna say, you can't do that, or it's irresponsible for you to tell people that you can put those 2 fish together. So let's just keep things simple and go with some guidelines for you to think about when you're selecting tank mates for your bettas, and I'll give you some examples of fish that we've successfully kept with them. Keep in mind that bettas are also called Siamese fighting fish or Japanese fighting fish, depending on where you look. They're called this for a reason, so understand if you put 2 bettas together, you're asking for it. They will fight, and there's no stopping them. The next thing to think about is bettas typically like to stay up around the top of the tank, so bottom feeders like Corydoras and Ancestris, they're gonna be fine. The biggest thing that stands out with bettas is their fins. They're absolutely gorgeous, and that's what they're known for, so you're definitely gonna wanna stay away from fish that have the reputation of being fin nippers. Tiger barbs are a great example of this. They might not kill your betta, but they're gonna tear it up real good. We've kept bettas with Corydoras, guppies, neon tetras, rasboras, platies, bristlenose catfish, you name it. We've had a lot of different types of fish with bettas. Just be careful. Do your research before you buy the fish.
There's a huge misconception about betta. So they have an organ that helps them to breathe air, so they don't need water movement or proper filtration. While it's true they don't absolutely have to have it, we want to do what's right for the fish, right? This video is all about what to do to make the best life possible for your betta. So if you want the best life possible for your betta, you need to put a filter on your tank. It doesn't need to be some giant filter like you have on your 55-gallon, but there's a ton of tiny filters out there on the market, and they do a great job helping to keep the water crisp and creating little water movement. Not a lot of movement. Bettas don't like a lot of water movement, just a little bit. The really cool thing about these tiny little filters is that they are pretty cheap. You don't have to spend a lot of money on them, and you're helping to give your betta the best life possible. Just do it.
Okay, now's the time to pretend like I'm stepping up onto a soapbox. Here's the thing, folks. For the last 2 weeks, we've done episodes of 10 Things on fish that we believe are some of the most mistreated in this hobby. Well, this one is gonna make 3 weeks in a row. If you were to have a serious discussion with 100 fish keepers out there about what are the most mistreated fish in the hobby, I don't think any of those fish keepers would exclude bettas from that list. Bettas, goldfish, the common pleco, Oscars, and clownfish, for my saltwater friends out there, are my top 5 list of the fish that I believe are the most mistreated. Let me know in the comments section what your top 5 list is. Maybe I'll do a 10 Things episode all about that. Bettas are given away in raffles. They're piled up on convention tables and left to die. There are people that even put these fish in flower vases and rum bottles to make some kind of stupid artistic statement. Yes, I said stupid artistic statement. I've even heard stories of idiots using bettas as centerpieces at their wedding receptions, with absolutely no regard for what they're gonna do with these fish once the reception's over. Listen, whether you call them bettas or bettas, these are fish that shouldn't be treated any different than any others. They need a well-maintained aquarium and deserve to be given the best life possible. If you want one of these fish because you think they'll look cute in a little cup on your desk, just stay away from them. It's just not right. So there you go, 10 things you need to know about bettas. We upload new episodes of 10 things every single week, so if you enjoyed this, if you found it helpful, found it entertaining, why don't you consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss any future episodes. Thank you so much for watching. We look forward to seeing you again next week with 10 more things.